Greetings to all and welcome back, citizens of Nindie Nation, to another episode of Let's Play Nindies, brought to you by the Nindie Nation podcast. I'm Jeff, and today we're checking out a new game called Monkey Barrels that I'm absolutely in love with. Developed by the team behind Yoshi's Crafted World and Kirby's Epic Yarn, Goodfeel is up to something completely different this time around. Monkey Barrels is a fairly traditional top-down twin-stick shooter with more quirky weapons than a Ratchet & Clank game and a modern retro art style wrapped up in a $15 package that feels just right. The story of Monkey Barrels is pretty ridiculous and has something to do with a monkey apocalypse. It's told through simple but well-done cutscenes that are quite humorous, but that's not really why we're here. We're here for the guns, and we're here for the gameplay. We'll dig into what Monkey Barrels has to offer, but at first glance, you can see the twin-stick shooter action you've come to know and love with a couple other things going on here. You have access to 4 weapons at once with a gun in each hand, ranging from assault rifles and shotguns to rocket launchers, laser beams, and even James Bond-like gadgets, including bug spray and an umbrella? Every weapon is crafted by some monkey bro back at the campsite hub world and made out of household items accompanied by witty descriptions that again remind me a lot of the Ratchet & Clank series over on PlayStation. In addition to the weapons, you also get 2 sub-weapons. There's stuff like grenades and shields, with my favorites being a rotating barrier of drones and a turret to help me get through some of the bullet house segments or add some extra firepower when the going gets tough. And believe me, while Monkey Barrels has a perfectly reasonable difficulty curve, it can get tough. In addition to the junk currency of Monkey Barrels listed up at the top, we've also got your life bar in the top left with the wild meter just below it. You accrue wild by taking and dealing damage, and once the bar is full, it will cause an explosion that surrounds you and provide a short period of time where you don't have to worry about ammo or reloading. This is actually a key element of the game as you generate wild constantly, and if you don't use it often, you'll find yourself overwhelmed at least a couple of times per stage. On the stages and structure, Monkey Barrels touts 22 levels stretched across 5 worlds, and that may not seem like a lot at first, but I've found it to be the perfect amount. In most worlds, you'll get 1 or 2 levels of traditional twin-stick shooter action, with another level having you either pilot a tank or even turn into a side-scrolling shmup on a bike. Both types of levels are really fun and add just the right amount of variety to keep the game moving. Most of the levels take about 10 to 15 minutes to beat, with the shmup levels lasting about half as long as that. Each world will end with a boss fight that is impressive, challenging, very unique, and a ton of fun. I love the boss fights. There are a few checkpoints scattered throughout each level, and if you do fail, you keep whatever junk you've accumulated and usually only lose a minute or 2 of progress, which is much appreciated and is yet another aspect that reminds me of Ratchet & Clank. The star of the shows are the weapons, though, so let's head back to the hub world and take a look at some of the firepower your monkeys will be arming themselves with. In the hub world, you can check out the online multiplayer, which I've heard is great, but honestly haven't had the time to look into it myself. Or if you don't want to head into a level, you can check out the new weapons for sale and even try them out in a practice area. As you can see, the weapons are quite varied. Using a combination of your junk currency and various but simple goals throughout the game, you'll unlock 98 weapons. The weapons generally fall into maybe a dozen categories like shotguns, assault rifles, rocket launchers, and even a couple of the more unique weapons I mentioned earlier. But within each category, the weapons are varied with traits centered around damage, speed, capacity, and reload time, which is very important, and as you play through the game, you'll find having just the right balance of these skills is critical to clearing the levels. One of my only complaints about this setup is that once you're out of ammo or you manually reload, you can't fire your secondary weapon, so you need to plan your reloading and weapon switching carefully, otherwise you'll leave yourself open to enemy fire. Once you've bought a new weapon, built your perfect loadout, and tested them out in the firing range, you'll head into the level of choice, either progressing the story through new levels or replaying past missions to track down one of the hidden blueprints or the secret monkey in each level. These will require a little bit of searching, but are never too far off the beaten path, and I usually found most or all of them in my first run of each level. Other than the tried and true gameplay of Monkey Barrels, which feels great and is just the right speed for my taste, I mentioned the variety of levels, and I love that about this game. You are rarely doing the same thing 2 levels in a row. By mixing in the shmup stages, tank levels, and boss battles, Monkey Barrels will keep you on your toes, never letting you get too comfortable with one playstyle. And all of these different level types are equally fun. I never found myself dreading a tank level or wishing there were more boss fights. All in all, I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with Monkey Barrels and think somewhere close to 10 hours of gameplay is what you can expect to find in this $15 package. Twin-stick shooters are a dime a dozen on the eShop, but I like Monkey Barrel's straightforward approach that has the level of polish we have come to expect from a studio that otherwise is making AAA Nintendo games. This isn't a game that has roguelike this and RPG that. While we love that on Nindie Nation, rather, Monkey Barrels focuses on a simple yet refined gameplay loop that is just plain fun. Combine that with great visuals, a fitting soundtrack, a cute story, and varied gameplay that never wears out its welcome, and Monkey Barrels has proven itself to be a diamond in the Nindie rough. I don't suspect Monkey Barrels blowing up on the eShop charts, no pun intended, so I wanted to make this video and share with you a game that I've had a ton of fun with and think is a perfect title to mix in as you're playing through the massive AAA experiences that flood the market this time of year. If you liked this video, please click the like button and let me know in the comments, or head over to Twitter and let's chat about Monkey Barrels or any other Nindies on the Switch at Nindie Nation. To see more Nindie goodness, subscribe to the Nindie Nation YouTube channel where we've got a bunch of Let's Play Nindies videos, a growing list of feature videos, and of course, the video version of the Nindie Nation podcast. If you're not aware, the Nindie Nation podcast is our weekly show dedicated to all things independently developed for the Nintendo Switch. We aim to create a shorter podcast that gets to the point, providing details on every new indie releasing on the eShop that week, and then digging into the enormous amount of discounted games to find the best deals worth your eShop coins. The Nindie Nation podcast is available here on YouTube and on all podcast services. If you love Nintendo but you've had your fill of indies, well, I think you're crazy, but you can head on over to thenintendovillage.com to check out their reviews, features, and other weekly podcasts hosted alongside Nindie Nation, such as Nintendo Nostalgia and the Nintendo Village podcast. Thanks again for checking out today's video and leaving your feedback. Until next time, if you need a great twin-stick shooter, I think Monkey Barrels is just the thing to keep your Joy-Cons synced.